Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo. Bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jed Lee. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We're coming to you with love from the historic neighborhood of Reedville, tucked into the southwest corner of beautiful Boston, Massachusetts. Our mission here is all about connection. Connecting kids with books, families with each other, and communities through the power of story. Every week we're joined by incredible authors and creators whose work lights up kids' lives. You can support this mission by spreading the word. Share the show with your friends. Give us a shout out at school and let folks know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, CastBox, Player FM, Amazon Music, Audible. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We have two absolutely wonderful guests coming your way. First up, Chris Grabenstein returns to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate his new middle grade novel, Ms. Penny Pickles Puzzle Quest. And later in the show, Joy Stephenson Laws is here to celebrate her new picture book, Secrets That Sparkle, Secrets That Sting. Hey, I want to let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Chicken Coop Chaos by Nancy Tavares. Are you ready for some barnyard fun your kids will absolutely adore? Then you've got to check out Nancy Tavares' delightful books, Chicken Coop Chaos and Chicken Coop Chaos Christmas. In the original Chicken Coop Chaos, we meet Pearl, a hen who loves peace, order, and a tidy little hen house. But when Wendell the rooster barges in and decides he's not leaving, Pearl has to hatch a clever plan to take back her space. And let's just say things get hilariously chaotic. And just in time for the holidays, Chicken Coop Chaos Christmas brings even more laughs, heart, and festive feathered fun. These books are perfect for young readers, classrooms, and family read-aloud time. So flap on over to your favorite bookstore or online retailer and grab your copies of Chicken Coop Chaos and Chicken Coop Chaos Christmas today. Your kids will be clucking with joy. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Find a Tree, a beautiful picture book by Lauren Chandler McCluskey. Are you or your kids ever bored, thirsty, restless, or just looking for a little adventure? Then Lauren Chandler McCluskey's brand new picture book, Find a Tree, is a perfect place to start. This joyful, imaginative story invites kids to discover just how many magical moments can begin with one simple idea: find a tree. Whether you love music or dominoes, ice cream or caterpillars, whether you want to swing on a tire, build a fort, sit in the shade, or snack on s'mores, there's always a tree waiting to welcome you. Perfect for nature lovers, curious kids, and families who want to slow down and explore the world right outside their door. If you've ever wanted to find a tree, this is the book for you. Pick up your copy of Find a Tree and let the adventure begin. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by the books by Robert Provan, Sammy and Scarlett's Mangrove Adventure and Sammy and Scarlett's Coral Reef Adventure. The first book in the series, Mangrove Adventure, recounts the tale of two young fish who live in a tidal pool in the Florida Keys. Sammy is a sergeant major fish, and Scarlett is a yellow-tailed snapper. They are different species from one another, and they don't look anything alike. But despite this, they become best of friends. They learn that it's not the color of a fish's scales that matters, but rather whether or not they have a loving heart. Sammy and Scarlett's Coral Reef Adventure is the second book in the series and tells the story of Sammy and Scarlett's continuing journey from the shelter of the mangrove forest in search of their adult home on the coral reef. The two fish are befriended along the way by Howie, the hawk-billed sea turtle, who helps them through the dangers they will face ahead. Together, the three explore the amazing underwater city that is a coral reef. You and your family are going to love these books. Check them out today. The Books by Robert Provan. We are in for a treat. Our guest is returning to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate his brand new middle grade novel. Is called Ms. Penny Pickles Puzzle Quest. Please welcome back to the show, Chris Grabenstein. Chris, how are you?
I'm good. It's great to be back with you, and getting kids to read is what we're all about.
Yeah, that is so true. I am really worried. I'm seeing reports that the literacy rate has really fallen, especially after the pandemic. And given the pandemic and the prevalence of screens and social media, it's kind of worrying me that kids aren't reading.
Well, they'll like this book. I try to write books that kids who are like I was when I was a kid. I didn't like to read. I got to be honest, when I was a kid. So I try to write books that have puzzles in them and humor and great characters, and they can't put them down. So we're trying our best.
The characters in this book, Benji and Ethan, a couple of brothers who don't have a lot in common.
No, they don't get along. Benji's a bit of a chubby nerd. I don't know who, maybe someone I know was like that when they were a kid. And Ethan's a jock. He's really popular at high school. But what really fascinated me was the age difference between the two brothers. Benji's 12, Ethan's 18, just graduating high school. So there's kind of a wide gap. And Benji's always saying the wrong thing in front of Ethan's potential girlfriends. And they don't get along at all until they take off on this quest.
Yeah, so talk about the quest and tell us who Ms. Penny Pickle is.
Well, Ms. Penny Pickle, sometimes we always talk about doing the same but different. I wanted to do another eccentric bazillionaire like Mr. Lemoncello, but completely different. And Ms. Penny Pickle is a recluse. She made a lot of money a few years ago when everybody was doing jigsaw puzzles. I don't know, people were stuck at home for a bad reason, and we're doing jigsaw puzzles. And now she wants to share some of that. And so she puts together this puzzle quest, which is a race along Route 66 from Chicago to Santa Monica. I think of it as the amazing race with more puzzles and no bungee jumping.
Have you ever bungee jumped, Chris?
No, and having watched it on The Amazing Race, I don't think I ever will.
I'm with you there. That is something that does not appeal to me even a little bit.
I went to a zip line. It was only like a 50-yard zip line. I got to the top of that tower. I'm not doing this. But they were good people. They said, all you have to do is sit down. Oh, okay. Then I did it like 10 times because it was so much fun.
Okay.
Zip back and forth.
Closest I came, I did one of those ropes course where you climb up, and
yeah,
my beautiful wife took a video of me, and I'm on this. You're gonna have to walk across this rope or a log, but there was something I could hold on. She takes the picture, and I'm stuck in the middle, and you can see my quad muscles. They're just shaking out of complete fear.
Yeah, it's not for me. Not for me.
Tell me, where do you get your ideas from?
All sorts of things. I have two big brothers who, when I was probably like a freshman in high school, I wasn't old enough to drive yet, but they said, come on, you can come with us. And we went on a cross-country trip in a VW Beetle from, we lived near Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we drove to the Grand Canyon. I started remembering that and playing around with this idea of brothers not getting along, and camping kind of, when you're on the road, the open road kind of brings people together. The old saying, when the rubber hits the road, that's when you find out how people truly are. And, this was a great thing for these two brothers to bond. They don't think they have anything in common, nor do they totally respect. Well, now Benji really respects his big brother, but the big brother's kind of looking down at the little brother. But by the end of the trip, they both realized, wow, we both have different talents. And if we put them together, we might win $1 million.
Yeah. A cross-country trip, that's something I would suggest everybody do it. Just to drive across the country. Our nation is so big and so different.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
If you can do it without satellite radio, that's what we did, because we were back in the days of before satellite radio. So you're listening to new AM radio stations in every town you get into, and you hear things, you learn about other people. Farm reports. I don't hear many farm reports in New York City, but you're driving across Oklahoma, you're going to hear the morning farm report.
Yeah, yeah. I did up and down the East Coast without satellite radio, and I did it on a Sunday when I was down south, and I remember listening to a NASCAR race on the radio, which seemed like a really ridiculous thing to do.
Going around and around.
Exactly.
They made it around again.
Hey, what do you love about writing for middle grade kids the most?
I think what I love the most is when I do reach those readers who tell me they did not like to read until they picked up one of my books, because that's the age, between 8 and 12, which are what my books are mostly written for. That's when you kind of decide if you're going to read for fun ever again in your life or not. Because by the time you start getting into high school, then you've got so many textbooks to read that reading for fun becomes it's got to become as important as video games, So I'm trying to get the kids, and you think about it, a lot of kids, adults remember the books that they loved when they were 10 to 12 years old. And those are the ones that stay with you. So I love writing for that audience.
Yeah. I remember. Did you have a favorite series? I love these books about a character named Todd Moran, who would go out on ocean voyages, and he was kind of like a young guy, and there were all sorts of mysteries. And
wow, no, I don't. I unfortunately grew up in Tennessee, where we had SRA in the years when I was between 10 and 12, with a box of color-coded essays where it was really just like training us to take an SAT test. Mm-hmm. You had to read like a 2 or 3 page essay and then answer all these questions and then move up to the next color. So I spent most of my time reading Mad Magazine when I was this age. And I would save up my money all year. If you see behind me, that's my collection of Mad books are back there. I used to collect my money all year long. And in the summer, when we'd go to Florida, there was a department store there that had a great collection of all the brand new Mad books, which were collections of the Mad magazines before I started reading Mad Magazine. And I would buy like 6 of those. They're 25 cents each. So I saved up my nickels and dimes through the year, and I would buy a bunch of those.
Yeah, that was a great magazine. It was,
it was
kind of, it was a way for young kids, I think, to be a little misbehave without getting in trouble.
Yeah, and when I was reading it, they did not take advertising. So they made fun of advertising, made fun of politics, made fun of movies, television shows, and really taught me a lot about the power of words. So and there was a great exhibit up in Stockbridge, Massachusetts last year at the Norman Rockwell Museum, which was a salute to Mad Magazine. And they had, I remember that cover. They had all this great art and stuff. It was terrific.
Yeah, that's so cool. When did you know that you wanted to write for kids?
I knew I wanted to be a writer when I was like 12 years old. And then I wrote for the Muppets, and I wrote a movie for CBS, and I wrote advertising with James Patterson. Then I quit advertising. I started writing mysteries and thrillers because that's what James Patterson did when he quit advertising. And then I have 24 nieces and nephews, and they could not read any of those things I wrote because they really, they're like Stephen King-ish thrillers and James Patterson kind of murder mysteries with adult language and adult situations. But all these nieces and nephews are going, Uncle Chris, can I read your books? I no, not until you're like 25 years old will you be allowed to read those books. And then an editor was looking for ghost stories for middle grade readers. And one of the manuscripts I wrote in my rejection years, my 4 years of everything getting rejected, was a ghost story for adults. And this editor read it and said, this would make a great ghost story for kids if you get rid of all the adult language and adult situations and cut like 60 to 70,000 words out of the manuscript. Cut it from like 120,000 down to 50,000. And my agent said, do you want to do that? That's a lot of work. And I said, yes, I do. I have 24 nieces and nephews who can't read anything I've written. And as I was doing it, I sort of discovered that inner Mad Magazine kid, that 12-year-old kid. And I had so much fun doing it that I no longer wanted to do adult mysteries anymore. I think when Mr. Lemoncello came out, that was the year my last adult mystery came out. 2013, yeah.
All right, yeah. That must have been a really fun experience for you to kind of be struggling, and then all of a sudden it's like, I found something that I love and I want to do it.
Yeah. And if I look back, like, oh yeah, I did all that children's theater when I was in college. And oh yeah, I wrote for the Muppets. It's like, hello. And my house is decorated like a kid lives here. Even when I was writing murder mysteries, I didn't have skulls and things around. I had all sorts of Rocky and Bullwinkle figurines. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I guess this is what I was meant to do.
Yeah, yeah. Through the magic of technology, I can look into Chris's space, and it is really colorful. I see a cat and a Jack and the Beanstalk poster, and all sorts of books and knickknacks, and what a fun little space you have.
Well, this is where I do a lot of virtual visits with schools, and I try to entertain the kids, but I always say, well, if I'm not entertaining, they can look at the background. Is that Grogu back there? What is that back there? So it entertains the kids.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about doing virtual visits?
I guess when the kids ask me a question that I haven't been asked before, and just seeing how amazed they are, like to be talking to an author. When I was a kid, all the authors of the whatever books that did trickle into our schools, they were all dead. There were no authors talking to us through the television set. So it's just great to see how excited they get, particularly when you can do one with, a place like, I don't know, Wyoming, Idaho, Kansas, places that are a little bit harder to get to. It takes like 2 days to get there and 2 days to get home.
Yeah.
So I like doing those ones the best.
Yeah. You mentioned and you enjoy getting questions that you hadn't been asked before. Is there one question that stands out in your mind as especially fun to answer?
Well, most of them I've been asked about Mr. Lemoncello. Someone asked me one this week in person that was good, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, I should have thought of that. I can't, but every once in a while one will pop up like, oh, no kid has ever asked me that before. I know that when we descend to what's your favorite color, what's your favorite animal, what's your favorite food, it's like, okay, kids, we're running out of time here.
Yes, when I do my educational magic shows, it's always, how did you do that? How did you do that? And I have to go to, does anybody have a question that doesn't involve me explaining a magic trick that I can explain to you?
Yeah, I was at a school in California last week, and I was talking to the older kids, and another guy was talking to the younger kids, and he said, remember, a question starts with who, what, or how. I said, oh, I'm going to steal that. I guess what's your favorite is a question. But anyhow.
Yes. Tell me, what kind of conversations do you think a family that is going to read aloud or co-read Ms. Penny Pickles' Puzzle Quest can have?
Well, they'll probably want to help each other solve the puzzles. There's a lot of puzzles inside. And they might talk about what is it about your brother that you really like and what is it you don't like. That whole thing about siblings getting along and kind of the importance of family, because the family helps out in the end. We discover the family really helps this situation get resolved. Mm-hmm. And I think they should also be fun to have discussions about Route 66 and how back in the day that was, Main Street of America. It was, and I just love all the attractions I was able to discover along the way.
Yeah.
My favorite being Pop Soda in Oklahoma, where you can go in and drink mustard flavored soda pop, beef jerky flavored soda pop, spaghetti flavored soda pop. They call these the disgusting sodas, and that's one of the challenges. You have to drink 7 of these that you find. But some are good. Peanut butter and jelly, watermelon. I might go for those.
Okay. Spaghetti soda pop.
I know.
Yeah. On my cross country, I did a Boston to Orlando to St. Louis to Los Angeles and then back home again. So I did for a good chunk of that, the St. Louis to Los Angeles. I did the interstate, but anytime I got off the interstate, you had to get on Route 66.
Right.
Boy, what a piece of American history that.
Yeah, and there's so many neat things. In this one, we do Pop Soda Shop. We do the world's largest catsup bottle, CATSUP. I guess, I remember when there was catsup and ketchup. I don't think catsup is still around anymore. I don't even think even Del Monte makes it anymore. But it's the same stuff, apparently. Yeah. And then, Yeah, and we've got the Cadillac Ranch with all the Cadillacs buried nose down in the dirt. And the next book, we're already planning a sequel to this. We'll go all the way to Santa Monica and go to like the world's first McDonald's restaurant in California and the St. Louis Arch. So there's a lot of neat places along Route 66. So that might be a fun thing for folks to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What a great book to kind of read to each other as you're traveling across country.
Yeah, and the audiobook is terrific. So I said, oh, good, a great road trip listen about a road trip.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun as we get near the holidays and people are getting into their cars and stuff. And the actor did a really good job.
Okay.
Yeah, terrific.
Excellent. Yeah. I think the last time you and your wife were talking about some of the audio work that you do.
Yes, we do a series for younger readers called Stinky Stories. That's where Jack and the Bean Stink comes from.
Uh-huh.
And we got to do the audiobooks. JJ's a pro. She's won awards for her audiobook narration. I can do some goofy voices. So I do all the goofy voices, the giant, the troll, and the three smelly goats gruff, and a couple of characters in Jack and the Bean Stink. I do the giant, yeah. So it's fun. We get to do those, and we had to audition for the part. We couldn't get it automatically. A lot of authors can't read their stuff, but I had a pro in my pocket. I had my wife, JJ. She's good.
Tell me, you've done a lot. You're mentioning writing for the Muppets and doing children's theater and writing advertising, writing adult books, and of course picture books and middle grade novels. Is there something creative that you haven't done yet that you're really looking forward to try?
Well, I've done it, but I want to do it again. I love writing stage plays. And for the longest time, Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library is probably my most popular book. I think there's 2 million copies in print and it won 20-some state book awards. But I couldn't figure out how to turn it into a stage play. We turned one of my books, The Island of Dr. Libris, into a stage play, and that was pretty good. But how could you do all that excitement of the library? And then I finally had the idea, you don't have to escape from the whole library, just from a reading room in Mr. Lemoncello's library, sort of a locked door mystery. So I've written that play, and now we're out there searching for a production partner to see it on its feet for the first time. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that sounds very, very exciting.
Yeah. It takes me back to my roots. I spent all my middle school, high school, and college years acting in plays and writing for the stage. So I'm excited about maybe doing that this year.
Yeah. We have a lot of new and aspiring authors who listen to the show, and I'm sure they're listening to this thinking, wow, I wish I could do a picture book or a middle grade novel, and Chris has done it all. What kind of advice might you give to that listener?
Well, the advice that I got that I did not like when I first started writing, I always would get Writer's Digest and Writer Magazine, and I'd read all the articles. And I had a manuscript that I had found an agent, and we'd gotten up to the acquisition committee, and it got gonged. And it's like, all right, well, we'll go to somewhere else. And I kept rewriting that book, the first book. And then I read this article in Writer's Digest. I believe it was an agent. And I think I met the agent once and thanked him for writing this article. He didn't even remember writing it, but I thanked him. And he said, there comes a point where you have to decide, do you want to be a writer or do you want to write one book? Because some people want to write like a memoir or one story that happened in their life, and they just got to tell the world about it, and then they're done. But he wrote in this article, if you want to be a writer, then by definition, you're going to write more than one book. So after you've taken in all the criticism you can, you've done all the revisions you can, there comes a time you got to put that first book away and write the second book. Mm. And then when you've written the second book, guess what you got to do after that? Write the third book. Mm-hmm. And my fourth book, after I wrote a book a year, my fourth book was the first one that got published. So yeah, you've got, because what's good about doing all that writing is you're honing your craft. I was going to classes. I was reading every book I could about writing, the craft of writing, like Stephen King, Bird by Bird, all those great books about writing. And I actually was getting better. I could tell. If I were to go back and read those first books, I'd probably go, yeah, probably good that they didn't get published. So yeah, don't give up. Keep going. And what I like about publishing, it's still a very polite business. If you're in advertising, the chairman of the board, that stinks. What else have you got? That'd be pretty odd. But with publishing, they usually write you a nice letter saying that your prose is excellent, you've got a good sense of story, but it just doesn't match our needs right now. We wish you luck finding a home for your work. And that's true. I mean, my first book that got published, the editor was actually reading my third book and said, yeah, this guy could write, but my bosses are looking for a new kind of murder mystery. If he ever writes a murder mystery, and his happenstance would have it, my fourth book that I was just finishing at that exact moment was a murder mystery. So my manuscript crossed his desk when that's what he was looking for. And that's what I tell people. You don't get lucky, but you get fortunate. Mm-hmm. Luck means you're just like, woo-hoo, I'm just going to get out there and throw the dice and see what happens. You got to be ready for your opportunity, but then fortune does play a part. That, you know, your manuscript has to cross the desk of someone who's going, yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Right. I love it. That's really great advice. You mentioned maybe writing a sequel of the Route 66. Any other projects that are up in the works right now?
Well, we're working on a Christmas book in the Lemoncello world. Even though we've done Mr. Lemoncello's fantabulous finale, where we brought the whole thing to a close, we said, what if we stayed in the world of Mr. Lemoncello but didn't have the same cast of characters like the main kid, you know, the antagonist and protagonist? What if we did a whole new story where Mr. Lemoncello, the library, Dr. Zinchenko are there, but it's a holiday story with a little bit of holiday magic in it. Mm-hmm. And that'll be coming out next fall, Mr. Lemoncello's Wonderous Christmas Gift. And then the second, Ms. Penny Pickle's Remarkable Road Race, will also be coming out next fall. And then we're doing 2 more stinky stories for sure. We've got Cinder Smella coming out in the spring of 26, and Stinking Beauty will be coming out, I think, in the fall of 26.
Boy, I definitely detect that Mad Magazine influence.
Yeah, exactly. In there. And Fractured Fairy Tales from Brocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes.
Yeah,
Man, those were so much fun. So much fun. Hey, Chris, please tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Ms. Penny Pickles Puzzle Quest and more about you.
Go to chrisgrabenstein.com, so it's just my name, .com, and on there you'll even see a video of my brothers and I taking that road trip back in 1972. It was actually a Super 8 movie that was transferred to video. And there's all sorts of links, buy it anywhere you want, and a lot of fun stuff on my website.
Great. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Ms. Penny Pickles Puzzle Quest. Our guest has been Chris Grabenstein. Chris, thanks so much for being back on Reading with Your Kids.
I'll come anytime you'll have me.
This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Trumpet, the Miracle Wolf Pup series. There's a brand new book in the series, and we're so excited to tell you all about it. Trumpet becomes a mom. In this exciting book, Trumpet and Lighthawk, now a bonded pair, start their own family with their very first litter of pups. Families can read together, schools can explore the importance of wolf packs and conservation, and Trumpet fans everywhere can celebrate this milestone in her incredible journey. Grab your copy today, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, select bookstores, and the Wolf Conservation Center, where Trumpet and her family live. Plus, 50% of all profits go right back to supporting the Wolf Conservation Center, with more donated to Lighthawk Conservation Flying. So grab your book today and have a group haul for Trumpet and her family. This episode is brought to you by OnceUponADance.com. Take storytelling to a whole new level. With Once Upon a Dance, your child will do more than just listen. They'll move, imagine, and connect. It's a literary adventure and a performance all in one. From graceful turns to energetic leaps, each story brings an immersive experience that engages both body and mind. Whether your child enjoys unicorns, bats, zombies, or cats, Once Upon a Dance has a Dance It Out story just for them. Celebrate joyful movement and visit OnceUponADance.com or find them at your favorite social media platform. Get ready, adventure fans. Toby Baxter is back. In I Heart Riverhome, the 4th thrilling book in the Adventures of Toby Baxter series, written by Tim Wright, 13-year-old Toby dives into his most unexpected quest yet. He's battling trolls, navigating the sandpit of love, and getting stuck with an LOVE compass. But when the girl of his dreams, Rainey, is kidnapped, Toby must summon more courage than ever before. All 4 books in the Adventures of Toby Baxter series have been honored as Reading with Your Kids certified great reads, each packed with fast-paced action, humor, and heart. So grab your copy of I Heart Riverhome today and join Toby on an unforgettable journey through Riverhome, where every page is an adventure. My friends, we are in for a very important conversation. Our guest is joining us from San Diego in California. She's here to celebrate her new picture book. It's called Secrets That Sparkle, Secrets That Sting. Please welcome to the show, Joy Stephenson Laws. Joy, how are you?
I'm great. I'm talking to you. I'm happy.
That's one. I'm feeling joy too. Tell us the title of your book, Secrets of Sparkle, Secrets That Sting. Very, very interesting and intriguing. Tell us about the title and tell us about the book, please.
So the book was my effort to educate moms about different secrets that their kids might have. It's a book I wish I had when I had my child at that age. Because many of us wonder why it is that our kids don't feel comfortable to come to us and tell us secrets that might sting, feelings that they had that they weren't comfortable with. And I had to go back and evaluate myself to find out, why didn't my child come to me with certain secrets or certain feelings? And it turns out that there's a lot of stuff that we didn't know when we started, rearing our kids. We kind of went with what our parents taught us. And I know one of the things my parents taught me, or my mom especially taught me, was not to validate negative feelings. So things like, if I started to feel sad, she would tell me, look on the bright side as a child. I mean, it got to the point where I did not even validate racism. It's like, okay, that's their problem, that's not mine. And I kept it moving. Well, obviously, I passed those same thoughts on to my child. And what happened was, when he was younger, about 5, 6-ish, he was abused. And when he talked about it years later, and the first thing that crossed my mind was, for as much time that I spent with you, why did you feel comfortable telling me about it? And because we talked a lot, we played, he came to work with me. I mean, we did everything together. And he said, Mom, I just didn't feel safe coming to you about it because I didn't think it was a feeling that you would understand. And of course, after I checked myself, I realized that despite all I thought I did not make it emotionally safe for him to feel. And by doing that, he was ashamed to tell me what happened to him based on how he perceived that the family would interpret it. So he carried it for years.
It must have been incredibly difficult for him to finally share that with you, and it must take a lot of courage for you to be able to share this story with the world, to say, my kid was hurt and there's something that I did that didn't make him feel comfortable to share this story. So first, thank you for your courage to share this in an attempt to help other kids and protect other kids.
Well, thank you. My theory when it comes to life is, if I know something, I try my best to do it. If I don't know, then I'm going to go find out. And that's one of the beautiful things about being an attorney, is that beyond teaching you how to represent others, it teaches you how to find information. Because, of course, there are times when we have to cross-examine experts and we have to know the areas well or better than they do. And so once I found out what the effects were on him, it gave me pause, and I had to go figure out what the heck is going on. What is emotional safety after all? I thought I kept you safe, but what was there something else I needed to do? So, so I had to go figure the whole thing. And being a boy, we grew up in a culture where, boys don't cry. You don't show emotion. It's a stiff upper lip. And emotional displays are usually, coded as weakness. You don't show that. That's not something you display. You go into your room and you hide it or whatever. And, I think we grew up with the wrong definition of what emotional strength is. And I had to go back and educate myself. And in doing so, I said, there are tons of my friends and others who may not have the correct definition of what emotional strength is. And it's not what we think it is. And if we don't teach our kids what the true definition is of emotional strength, they will end up having secrets that they don't share with us. They will not be able to distinguish the different types of secrets. And kids at the early ages, they feel, and it's okay to feel. I mean, if they feel sad, happy, anger, whatever the feelings are, we let them feel it. It doesn't mean that they can act it out.
Right.
But we need to give them the space to feel and validate their feelings and have them be able to describe to us in a way that they understand what those feelings mean. Like, does the feeling, where do you feel it in your tummy? Is it heavy? Is it light? I mean, does it feel yuck? However they can relate to us in their language, depending on their age, because that's all they're capable of doing is feeling. Later, when they hit 10, 12, 15, they can regulate those feelings. So as adults, our job is to give them the opportunity to feel everything, and relate to us the ones that, if they want to, don't feel right. Kids, we need to teach them how to feel safe, not tell them what to do. Because what they're capable of doing is feeling. Now, I told my child, if this happens to you, come talk to me. Or if this happens, this is safety. If somebody approaches you on the street or whatever, don't do it. Don't go. But he was not capable of understanding that. At that age, at the age of 6, they're capable of feeling. Now, if I asked him to describe how that person made him feel, does it feel yucky? Does it feel stingy? Does it feel however they communicate with you, then that's you're relating to them on their language, on their level. And that's the difference. Yeah. So that's what I had to go back and relearn, because I never learned that.
Yeah, boy, this is a very, very important topic. I wonder if it's a boy versus girl thing. As you were speaking, I remember a situation when my kids were first online, and they were, I think my daughter was 7 and my son was 9, and and they weren't online. It was before social media, but they had the ability to get text messages. And somebody sent a very creepy text message to my daughter. And her first instinct was to come to me while my son was like, no, don't tell mom and dad. Just keep this. And my daughter, being my daughter, told my son to shut up. And she came to us. Thankfully, it turned out it was just a classmate playing a prank. And so it wasn't a dangerous situation. But they had such different instincts, and growing up in the same house with same parents.
Yeah, you are so right. I think boys get the tougher role in that respect, because men are expected to act a certain way. Men are expected to demonstrate strength. They don't complain. And especially my child, that was the culture that he grew up in. The males were very, they don't show emotions, nothing like that. And big boys don't cry.
Yeah.
He was all about that. I can take care of it, Mom. I can take care of myself. That stuff. And emotions were not encouraged, especially from the males. In fact, they would think I'm trying to make him feminine if Yeah, that is, so I can totally understand, why your son would respond the way he did as well. Whereas the women or the girls would probably respond differently. In fact, that's one of the differences that's been articulated between males and females, or between girls and boys.
Yeah.
But we have to step back and realize that emotional strength, what we perceive as emotional strength, is really emotional weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Because our body depends on us to feel.
Mm.
Now, there's a difference between feeling and action.
Mm-hmm.
We can feel angry.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean we're going to shoot somebody.
Right. Right.
Okay. But it's okay to feel. If somebody cut you off when you're on the freeway, you can feel angry.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you're going to go chase them.
Right.
It means that you're going to stop. You acknowledge the feeling. You kind of pause and say, well, maybe he just wanted to, get off and use the bathroom. That's why he cut me off. Or poor thing. Or however, you can even choose to shout at him. It's a conscious decision that you make after you allow yourself to feel. But you don't stop the feeling by saying, I shouldn't really be angry. It's going to raise my blood pressure. I shouldn't really be feeling that way. Yes, if you felt that way, feel it.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you're going to act on it. That's what makes us adults. We're supposed to be able to regulate our responses after the feeling. But it's perfectly fine to feel, and that's one of the first things that we need to teach our kids. Allow them to feel.
Yeah.
Later on, we can teach them to regulate.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're going to school and they don't want to leave for school that day and they're throwing a tantrum, I totally understand why you'd want to stay home and play video games. But come, let's grab our shoes and go.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay for them to be upset and go to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But give them the right to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our parents stopped the feeling. In fact, I remember at one point when I was growing up, my mom would tell, I had an aunt, she said, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about.
We must have the same aunt. I had that. I've heard that many times myself.
But you start complaining, you don't know how lucky you are. There are other kids don't have that opportunity. So you felt guilty when you would feel anything, any kind of emotion. In fact, you knew growing up that certain feelings are not allowed, and that they were not aware what they're doing. They thought they were great parents, and they did what they had to do and what they knew. But as we grow, if we know better, we should do better, no?
I agree with you. And I think we did a pretty decent job with our two kids. They're very happy and successful young adults with wonderful spouses. But it is hard. It is hard to have those conversations. And I'm imagining secrets that sparkle, secrets that sting, give parents a natural opportunity instead of sitting them down and saying, okay, we have to have an important talk. It's no, hey, come on, curl up. We have a nice picture book and let's read the book together.
Yes, exactly. And as moms, when we're expecting a child, or we prepare. I know many of us would read the book What to Expect When You're Expecting, because you're trying to prepare for your child. If there are books that Goodnight Moon and all those bedtime stories that you go find to read to them. If I had a book like this, for example, sure, knowing what predators do, they know better than we do what age to get to our kids. They know that if they get to our kids at a certain age, their brains are at a certain developmental state. Nobody can get to them after. If they tell them a secret, they're going to keep it. They will wait until they die before they let that secret go. That's just how the brain is wired for kids. As parents, we have to get there before anybody else does. And we have that opportunity by reading bedtime stories, choosing what books to read it in a way that they understand in their language. So clearly, I would have grabbed a book like this and said, okay, that's on the bedtime routine list. It's really important that as parents we recognize, that we have influence over our kids and identify those things that we can do so that they can understand how to feel safe and protect themselves by coming to us when
Yeah.
they have issues.
Yeah. I think you use the word preparation, and I think a parent sitting down and being mindfully selecting a book like Secrets that Sparkle Secrets That Sing to have in their family collection, it would make a lot of sense for them, I think, to read the book first themselves, so that when they sit down with their kids, they have
Highlight.
anticipate what questions the children might ask them.
Exactly. And there's certain activities that they could introduce after reading the book or throughout the course of a day, that they could do with their kids. Maybe ask the kids, well, who do you think is safest to tell your secrets to? Stuff like that. Or who do you think is safe? It prompts you to have conversations with your kids that, help them, keep them safe without them even knowing that you're trying to do that.
Yeah.
Do you think Uncle X is safe to tell a secret to, or spark a secret to? Do you think Uncle X is safe to tell a stingy secret to? Play games with them. Ask them. Speak on their terms. Prepare for it, because that's how you get information from them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really great advice. And the idea of helping kids identify the other adults in their lives that they can turn to for help, I think is super important, because there may be something that, as much as my daughter loved me, as much as my daughter knew instinctually she should have come to me to tell, and did come to me to tell that she had received that creepy text, maybe there was a secret she wouldn't feel comfortable telling her dad, but maybe she'd feel better telling her Tia and telling her auntie. So knowing that those people are around for her, I think that's pretty wise.
Yeah, it prompts a lot of conversation that aren't necessarily planned, but once you read the book, when you're cooking or the kids are around, so tell me some of your safe members, that live at home that you could tell stingy secrets to. Play around, I keep the conversation moving where they feel comfortable, not being ashamed of any feeling, and let them know there are no bad feelings necessarily. You can talk about anything so that they don't grow up to be ashamed of anything, because that comes from judgment. We are the ones that introduce judgment to our kids. So if we don't display judgment at home when it comes to their feelings, then they won't know what shame is from your household. So and then they'll be prepared to talk about anything.
Sure. Yeah.
Because we control that environment at least up to a certain age.
It's interesting. I shared with Joy before that I made a living doing educational magic shows, and very often I would be asked to do magic workshops for kids and teach them some secrets. And I always, anytime you go to I read a magic book or whatever, the first thing you read, especially if you're reading a book for kids, is magicians never tell their secrets. And I always start off my workshops with, okay, magicians don't tell their secrets, but they never keep secrets from their parents. So you are welcome. Anything you learn here today, you are welcome to teach your parents, because we don't keep secrets from our parents.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. That is nice. And you weren't even aware of what you were doing at that point, right? How powerful the message was.
I didn't know how powerful it was, but I also knew that this is, but in my shows, they were always themed. We talked about bullying, and we talked about making healthy choices. The very first show that I created way back in 1985 was a show that talked. I didn't use the term good touch, bad touch, but it was that kind of show. And I did a lot of research, and I was very surprised. Everybody was doing stranger danger kind of shows. And I was very surprised when I did my research that the overwhelming majority of kids who are abused are not abused by strangers. They're abused by people that are in their family.
Relatives. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's how I created my show. And I previewed it at a couple of schools, and they said, "Oh, this is a great show. We ain't bringing it to our kids. We ain't touching this with a 10-foot pole. They did, and they said, why don't you do a Say No to Drugs show? That we'll buy that from you, but we're not buying this thing.
Not buying this one.
Tell me, you mentioned earlier that you're an attorney. Where did you find the time to sit down and write a picture book?
Oh my gosh, what's more important, right?
There you go.
Duh.
And leave it to an attorney to ask the right question.
Like, whoa, what did I miss? Okay, let's go back here. Like something fell off the path here. I don't know what it is. Let me go find out.
Well, now that Secrets that Sparkle and Secrets that Sting is out in the world, are you intending to write some more children's books?
I do. There are a couple more that I wanted to do where and I just finished one. We should publish it in a couple of months or whatever. It's really important that we validate the feelings. Mm-hmm. And in the next book I talk about how we do that responsibly. It's the whole concept of feelings and numbing our emotions. We just kind of have to find ways of explaining to others why it's important and it doesn't show that we're weak. Mm-hmm. I think the misunderstanding probably has to do with the fact that we equate feelings with actions. Mm-hmm. And I think once people understand the difference between what a feeling is and what an action is, perhaps they will appreciate the fact that being emotional or emotional safety is really important. Yeah. And it demonstrates strength, not weakness. Mm-hmm. So my thinking is that many people equate emotional weakness with emotional actions. Mm-hmm. Meaning I cry, therefore I'm just going to be a mess for the rest of the day. Right. And I'm not going to be productive. Or if I'm angry, I'm just going to go around slapping people or cussing them out. Right. Yeah. I think that's where the misunderstanding is. They equate feeling with action. Yeah.
Yeah. And we want our kids sharing their feelings with us and talking, but we don't want them smacking their friends.
Precisely.
Can you tell everybody, please, where we can go to find out more about Secrets That Sparkle, Secrets That Sting?
Sure. There's a secretsthatsparkle.com website where you can go, or you can just look me up, George Stephenson Laws, and just put secrets and you'll find it all over the place.
Awesome. We've had a really powerful conversation with the author of Secrets That Sparkle, Secrets That Sting. It's the new picture book from our guest, Joy Stephenson Laws. Joy, thank you so much for being with us.
And thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
That's a wrap for this episode of Reading with Your Kids. Want more great content? Head on over to readingwithyourkids.com. You'll find amazing book reviews, links to our past episodes, and you can visit our Certified Great Read Wall of Fame. And if you are an author of a great children's book, readingwithyourkids.com is the place to go. Click on that Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest here in the show and tell thousands of Kit Lit fans all over the world about your fantastic children's book. We'd also love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at readingwithyourkids on Instagram, and at JedleyMagic on X. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. If you love this episode, please share it with someone you care about. Leave a 5-star review and be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcast. We are really, really thankful to all the people who made this show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Chris Grabenstein. Please be sure to check out Ms. Penny Pickles Puzzle Quest. Also, Joy Stephenson Laws. Please be sure to check out Secrets That Sparkle, Secrets That Sting. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. You are the real heroes because every time you read with your kids, you're spreading love, you're spreading learning, and you're spreading kindness all throughout the world. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.